Straight all day.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, yes, there is more. You get a huge dose of personal initiative. That's the go-getter energy that moves me and you to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all of this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one show, one master class. That is this one you are listening to right now. It is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is how to delete noise in your life. How to get the noise out of your life, that noisiness. Now, without me even explaining this, you might have a little bit of an intuition as to what I mean when I say the noise. I mean, everybody knows what noise means. I mean, is that those excess sounds, those things that you can hear, like we talked about in yesterday's class. You can hear that a sound is happening, but it's not something that you really want to hear. It may be interrupting you, is blocking your concentration, getting in your way. So I'm talking about that kind of noise, but I'm not just talking about audible noise that you can actually hear. This is a metaphor that I got to give a credit to a guy by the name of Alex Sharfin, who I heard talk about this concept. He talks about it a lot, especially when it comes to entrepreneurs. But noise is anything that I'm talking about here today. Noise is anything that is taking you out of your zone, taking you out of your flow, getting in your way, blocking your focus, causing you to get distracted, just clouding up your vision of what you need to be doing, clouding up your focus, clouding up your actions, clouding up your energy, anything that's just getting in the way, but you're noticing that it's in the way, because there's a lot of things we could be paying attention to, right? A lot of things that we could be distracted by. I'm talking about the things that are actually distracting you, actually blocking you, actually slowing you down, actually causing your flow to turn into a grind. You understand what I'm saying? How to get rid of that noise in your life. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. So if you felt like there's been a lot of noise in your life lately, or maybe your whole life, you felt like there's always been some kind of noise going on, listen closely to what I'm going to share here today. And even better, if you want to help yourself even more, grab a pen and paper or open up a clean sheet on your phone and take notes on what I'm going to say here today, because everything I'm going to share, you're going to be able to apply immediately as everything that I talk about here every day on this show, you'll be able to apply immediately and get immediate results for yourself. So point number one, the topic once again, is how to delete the noise in your life. First point, those of you especially who are coming from a sports background, or you've consumed a lot of material when it comes to mental toughness or even discipline, you are probably familiar with the phrase, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Everybody's heard that. Even if you never played sports, even if you haven't consumed a lot of content on discipline and mental toughness, you've heard people talk about this, getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm sure I have touched on it at some point in the course of 4 or 5 years of doing this show. But I want you to understand something. Getting comfortable being uncomfortable does not apply to everything that you have going on in your life. All right? You only want to get comfortable being uncomfortable when you're doing something that you can see is going to make you better in the long run of your life. I talked about eustress in masterclass number 1348. So if you didn't listen to that, go listen to that masterclass. You can understand what I'm talking about, getting comfortable being uncomfortable. That is specifically when you're using eustress. If you don't know what eustress is, briefly, distress is the kind of stress that makes you worse, the kind of stress that breaks you down, slows you down, causes nervous breakdowns, causes anxiety, causes you to not be able to sleep, the kind of stress that you want to get rid of, the kind of stress that you take medication for, you go to a therapist to get rid of. That's distress. You don't want distress in your life. Eustress is the opposite. It's still stress, but it's the kind of stress that you like. This is the kind of stress that you purposely, intentionally is the word I'm looking for, intentionally create in your life, because you know that going through that stress will actually make you better. So lifting weights, for example, is eustress for your physical body. If you go and run outside, that's eustress for your cardiovascular, for your lungs. Trying to learn something that is not so easy to pick up, but you eventually learn it and it makes you smarter, that's eustress for your brain and for your skill, whatever skill you happen to be working on. So eustress is a time when you're dealing with eustress, the kind of stress that you can see how going through this challenge, going through this pain is going to make you better. That's when you want to get comfortable being uncomfortable. But you don't want to get comfortable being uncomfortable with everything that's going on in your life. For example, if you have some food in your refrigerator that's been sitting there for a week or so, and you take it out of the fridge and you smell it and you heat it up and you start eating it, and you notice that it might not be so fresh anymore. You notice that it might be a little bit sour. It might be past its due date, and it makes you a little bit uncomfortable to eat it. All right, you shouldn't get comfortable with that. All right, you shouldn't eat it. All right, throw it away, wash it down the garbage disposal, put it in the trash, throw it in the dumpster. That's not a place where you should get comfortable being uncomfortable. Do you understand? If you have some noisy neighbors who are always playing some loud music or having parties late into the wee hours of the night every weekend, and you're unable to sleep, you should not get comfortable with being uncomfortable in that space. What you should do is call the security in the building. If there is one, call the police, go knock on their door, have a conversation, do something, get some earplugs, whatever you got to do, so that you don't have to get comfortable with that discomfort. So there are some discomforts that you do want to get comfortable with only when they're making you better, and you know the path that they're going to make you better, or at least you trust the knowledge of a person who's putting you through it. So for example, if you hired a coach or you hired a trainer or you have a mentor who's telling you, hey, you need to do this, this, and this, and they're telling you that these things are going to make you better in the long run if you just do them, and you might not quite understand it yet, but they understand it. If you trust them enough to trust their understanding, even though you don't quite understand, that's when it's okay to get comfortable being uncomfortable. But if you can't see, or you don't trust someone enough who does see how going through something is going to make you better in the long run, do not get comfortable with that level of discomfort. What happens with a lot of people is that they get so comfortable with dealing with certain levels of discomfort that it becomes a norm in their life. Like, okay, it's uncomfortable for me to have to deal with this car that's all beat up and is not riding the right way. It's uncomfortable for me to eat this food that I know is not helping my system and not making me stronger or smarter. It's giving me brain fog, but I keep eating it anyway. Or it's uncomfortable for me to have to deal with these people over here that are in my life every single day, and I don't like them, they don't like me, and we always have conflicts, and it's slowing me down, it's giving me anxiety, it's building distress in my life. Those are not discomforts that you need to get comfortable with. But what happens with a lot of people is they go through these things so often, and they don't think that there's any alternative. They don't think there's anything they can do about it. So they just grow to accept it. They just grow to accept that I just got to deal with this discomfort all of my life, and this is just the way that life is going to be. No, this is not true. That's not the way life is supposed to be. The only stress you should go through is you stress. The kind of stress that you put on yourself. You stress. That's not the way it's spelled, but it's still the same concept. Alliteratively, it's the same concept. You don't want to have to go through the distress, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. So if you're in an unhealthy business relationship or working relationship or personal relationship, and everything about it is something that you hate, everything about it is just making you worse, or you don't want to get comfortable with that, do you? I mean, would that make sense? Maybe you've been in a situation like that, and maybe you got comfortable and stayed around or dealt with a certain distress in your life for a little bit too long, so it finally dawned on you, you know what? I don't have to stay comfortable with this discomfort. I could probably do something about it. Now, it might sound silly to some people, again, what I'm explaining here, but you'd be surprised to see how many people have indoctrinated themselves into getting comfortable enduring things that they know they don't want in their lives, but it's because unconsciously or maybe even consciously, they think there's nothing they can do about it. So the question for you is this. Who are the people, places, habits, circumstances, etc. that you are tolerating and have made yourself comfortable tolerating? You just decided, you know, I just need to be comfortable with this situation being what it is. Not exactly what I want. It's not working the way that I want it to work. I don't like the way that this person is doing what they're doing. I don't like that these neighbors are so loud. I don't like the fact that this food doesn't taste so fresh. But you know what? I just got to get comfortable with it. No, you don't have to get comfortable with it. And the question you need to ask yourself is, how would it be possible to change this? What would need to be true in order for me to make change in this situation? When you ask yourself that question, then your wheels are going to start turning. You're challenging your brain to think, and that's what your brain does best. So give it its best job, which is to think, and it'll start giving you ways that you can figure things out. It'll start giving you ideas. And the more often you ask yourself that question, what would need to be true in order for fill in the blank with whatever outcome you want, your brain is going to get more trained to actually produce ideas for you and help you get better in creating outcomes and situations and circumstances in your life that you want. So you do not need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable getting rid of discomfort. Point number 2. Today's topic is how to delete and eliminate noise in your life. Point number 2, stop trying to be Superman or Superwoman, thinking that you're a failure if you're not. What I mean by this is with the world that we're in now, especially with the internet and the fact that we're all interconnected in some way, is that we can quickly and easily find people, tools, systems, ideas, etc. that can do what we can't do, or that we don't like to do. And then we can get those people, systems, processes, plans, ideas, etc. to work for us. We can give them something that they want. They give us something that we want. We don't have to do everything on our own. Most of us have access to pretty much all the same information and as much of it as we want to have access to. So you don't have to be Superman or Superwoman, try to do everything yourself. The main reason why this point is so important is because when you're trying to do everything yourself, I can guarantee you that you're going to come up against a wall where either you have run out of time or you have run out of talent. And this creates noise in your life. You're trying to do everything, but you're running out of time, and you know that you have more to do, but time is up. That's creating noise in your life. That's creating distress in your life, because you're like, damn, I have more things to do, but I didn't finish them. That creates a little bit of distress, or maybe a whole lot of distress in your mind. And now you have to get comfortable with the fact that you're uncomfortable with the fact that you haven't got everything done, or you run out of talent. There are things that you want to do and you have plenty of time to do them, but you just don't have the skill to do them. You don't have the ability to do that thing, but because you're trying to be Superman or Superwoman, you keep trying to force yourself to do things that you're just not good at doing, which creates, again, more stress in your life, because it becomes a grind, right? It's a grind when you're trying to do something that you're not quite so good at, you don't quite have the skill set for, but you keep trying to force yourself to do it. And that leads to distress in your life. That's not eustress, that's distress. Now, it's eustress when you actually enjoy getting better at something and you enjoy the process of learning that skill, and you can see how it's making you better, and you can draw a path, a clear path to how having this skill is actually going to help you move forward and advance. If you can't do that, and you don't see the benefit of developing this skill, you don't see how this is actually helping make you better, it doesn't lead you towards your definite chief aims in any way, and there's a way that you could get it done in a much more efficient way than you doing it all yourself. If that's the case, then what you're doing is getting comfortable being uncomfortable, which is a waste of your time, a waste of your life, because time is how your life is measured, and is a waste of your energy, is a waste of your focus, is a waste of your attention, is a waste of all your most precious and valuable resources. Why are you doing that? Probably because you have indoctrinated yourself to believe that you need to do it, or that you can't exercise whatever other option there is for getting it done. You can't find another person. You can't pay somebody else to do it. It doesn't make sense for you to not do it yourself. You have indoctrinated yourself to this way of thinking. And this is how people get the Superman or Superwoman complex that, oh, I have to do everything myself. The problem with any human being, I don't care who you are, what you do, the problem with any human being trying to do everything themselves is that no human being is good at everything. That's the problem with it. All right, and there are probably plenty of other problems. If we were to look at one individual person, we can find plenty of other more detailed problems. But the most specific problem is that you don't have every skill. So when you're trying to do everything yourself, you're inevitably going to come up against a failure point. And the question is, what are you going to do at that point? Are you either A, going to get comfortable being uncomfortable, which is going to cause a grind and is going to cost you a whole lot more time and energy and not going to be efficient, or B, ask yourself a better question, which is, what else, what can help me do this? Who out there has the skill to actually do this? What software can I employ that can help me with this? Who has a strategy or plan or tactic or idea that I could use instead of doing what I'm doing right now, which obviously isn't working? What can I do differently, and how can I go find that information? All right, then you can go fire up Google, and I guarantee you Google will have some better ideas than your idea of trying to do everything yourself and being Superman or Superwoman. Trying to be Superman creates noise in your life. Trying to be Superwoman creates noise in your life. And then here's the thing. When people have this Superman or Superwoman complex and they try to do everything themselves, what's going to happen is they're going to fail, and they're not able to do everything themselves. And then what happens is they beat themselves up because they were incapable of being Superman or Superwoman. So they're setting themselves up for failure because it's impossible to be Superman or Superwoman. So then when you fail at doing it, you feel like you're doing something wrong. No. You got the whole equation backwards. You're doing something wrong by even trying to do it in the first place. So the problem was you trying to be Superman, when what you should do is ask yourself, where am I good? Where am I? What areas can I be Superman just in this one little area? Not in everything, but where's this one little area where I could be Superman? And then where can I find other little mini Supermen or Superwomen who can do that one thing and that one thing and one thing? And it might be a person, it might be some software, it might be an idea, it might be just a system, a structure. You might be trying to do things one way, but if you had the right system, you could get things done a whole lot more efficiently, and you wouldn't have to be Superman anymore. And the great thing, as I said already, about the internet and interconnectivity is that you can access these people and these ideas and these strategies within 5 seconds just by typing something on your phone. If you can hear me right now, you have access to the internet and you have interconnectivity. So we can find these tools It's to take care of the things that we can't or don't want to do ourselves. So except for the only thing I can think of was exercise. Exercise is the one thing that you cannot outsource. You don't have to force yourself into doing anything else that is not in your wheelhouse. All right? If you don't like exercising, you still got to figure out a way to do it. But there are plenty of different techniques. You might find something that you like if you look around hard enough. And actually, you better find something, or otherwise your life won't be too long. All right, your doctor will tell you that. That's the only thing you can't outsource. Everything else, you can find somebody else to do it, and you don't have to do it yourself. And it doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you dumb, doesn't make you lazy. It actually makes you smart. All right, Elon Musk is not in the Tesla factory putting the engines in his Tesla cars. Drake, when he finishes making a song, he's not sitting at the production board mixing down his own records. He doesn't do that. Warren Buffett, when he needs to update the Berkshire Hathaway website, he's not on there going into the HTML code and putting in CSS. He doesn't do that. He has somebody else who does that, and he sticks to doing what he does best. You need to do the same thing. You do not need to be Superman or Superwoman. The three people I just mentioned, you know who they are. I think we would all agree these are highly successful individuals. And guess what they're not doing? Everything on their own. All right, and what about you? Point number 3. Today's topic is how to eliminate noise in your life. Number 3, be ruthless in cutting things off. And this is the whole point, is eliminating noise in your life. You got to be ruthless in getting rid of the noise. All right, noise, the definition, when I'm saying noise, as I told you a little bit at the top, noise is all the stuff that we allow to stick around in our lives, despite the fact that we have acknowledged that these things are slowing us down and creating friction. Something's creating friction for you. Instead of being in a state of flow, it puts you in a state of grind. Instead of things working smoothly because you're working in your zone of excellence, your zone of competence, you're working in the zone where you're not quite so competent. It doesn't really matter if you put a whole lot of time into getting better at this thing, because that getting better at that thing is not really moving you forward in any tangible way anyway, but you're forcing yourself to do it. That's when you get into grind. That's when you get into friction. That's when you get slowed down. That's when you get out of your state of flow. Anything you're doing is putting you into those frames. You shouldn't be doing it. You should eliminate those things. And again, utilize one of the greatest tools that we have at our fingertips, literally our fingertips, being the internet and our interconnectivity. Go find someone or something or some plan or process that can get that grind off of your plate. Now, you do not have to have grind all over your dinner plate in your life. All right, you don't have to be Superman or Superwoman. You try to be Superman or Superwoman, you will have grind in your life. You will have friction. You will get slowed down because, again, you run up against the human limitation of running out of time or running out of talent. Everyone does if they try to be Superman. All right, Superman only exists in the comic books. All right, you do not have to live with the energy of grind and slow and friction. I discussed this in masterclass number 1253. How to do less to do more. Again, that's number 1253. How to do less to do more. Nobody is great or even good at everything. Nobody. All right, no matter how talented you think you or someone you know is, nobody's good at everything. Your job then, personally, is to know yourself, first of all, then to focus on what you're great at and systematically take everything else off of your hands. That is your job. Know what you're great at. Focus on the things that you're great at, and they're probably not more than, I would say, 3 to 5 things most people are great at. Some people's only 1 or 2. Focus on the things that you're great at and systematically figure out how to take everything else off of your hands. The way you can start at this is to see masterclass number 1100, Delegation 101. And though I made it specifically for entrepreneurs, even if you are not an entrepreneur, the principles in that masterclass, again, number 1100, they apply to anything you would want to offload from the desk, quote unquote, of your life. But you can't keep putting yourself in the states of friction and slowing yourself down and losing flow, or maybe some people never even get into a state of flow because you never get to put enough time and energy into doing the things that you're actually great at. And that might be because you're trying to do everything else. So you never get enough time for the things you're great at. Might be because you don't know yourself well enough. You don't even know what you're great at. So you're doing all these other things that you know you're not great at, but you're trying to force yourself to do them. Why? Again, because you have indoctrinated yourself into believing that you need to be Superman or Superwoman. When that doesn't work, you'll fail at it. I'm already telling you right now, you're going to fail trying to do that. So stop doing that. All right, stop running a losing race. Let's recap today's class, which is how to delete noise in your life. Again, credit to Alex Sharfin for this concept. He talks about this a lot for entrepreneurs, but this concept applies to applies to everyone and everything that we're doing. When I say noise here, I'm referring to anything that is taking you out of your zone or removing you out of your flow in life and putting you into a state of grinding where you don't want to be. Point number one, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable applies only when you're doing something that is going to make you better, and you can draw a line from learning this skill to something that is going to move you forward. If you don't need to learn the skill to move yourself forward, you can easily have it done elsewhere more efficiently, better than what you would do yourself, then you should not be doing it, okay? It's not in everything you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. If you're in an unhealthy environment, or unhealthy relationship, or working at a job you hate, or dealing with people that you don't want to get along with and have tried and it's just not working, you don't want to get comfortable with that, do you? You might sound silly to some of you to even hear this because you understand this maybe inherently or consciously you understand it. But some people, many people, have indoctrinated themselves in getting comfortable with enduring things that they know they don't want in their lives. So who are the people, places, habits, circumstances that you are just merely tolerating and have made yourself comfortable tolerating? Make a decision to change those things. Point number two, stop trying to be Superman or Superwoman, and then thinking that you're a failure when you fail at being Superman or Superwoman, because I'm guaranteeing you right now, if you try to be Superman, you will fail at being Superman. So don't beat yourself up when you fail at being Superwoman, because it's impossible for you to do that. The great thing about the internet is that we can quickly and easily find tools, people, systems, etc. that can replace us as the bottlenecks and the things that we're trying to do when we're attempting and failing to be super person. Save for exercise, the one thing you can't outsource. You don't have to force yourself into doing anything else that is not in your wheelhouse. All right? Elon Musk isn't building his own cars. Drake isn't mixing his own records. Warren Buffett doesn't update his own website. You don't need to be doing everything yourself either. Those people are highly successful and they're not supermen or superwomen. Why are you trying to be? Point number three, be ruthless in cutting things off. All right, noise is all the stuff that we allow to stick around in our lives despite the fact that it slows us down and creates friction. You do not have to live with this type of energy. In Masterclass number 1253, I told you how to do less to do more. Nobody is great or even good at everything. Nobody. Your job is to know who you are and focus exclusively on what you are great at, while you systematically take everything else off of your plate and give it to someone else to do on your behalf. You give them what they need, they give you what you need. Usually that'll be money. And I talked about this in Masterclass number 1100, Delegation 101 for entrepreneurs, especially for those of you who are listening to me right now. And I just said delegation. I just said systematically removing things off of your plate. And I said usually you can exchange that for money. And your first thought is, well, I can't afford it. I can't pay anybody. I don't know how to tell people what to do. Listen to Masterclass number 1100, where I lay this out so you can remove those false objections that are keeping you from removing noise out of your life and keeping you trying to be Superman. You're already running a failing race. You're running a race that you're going to lose. If you would like to get out of that race, listen to Masterclass number 1100, Delegation 101. Those principles will apply not only in your business life, but also in your life to offload those things off of your desk. Work on your game. Dre all day.